Hey, so just imagine, right? You go to the doctor for your annual visit, and all of a sudden, you do your weight and all that happy stuff, right? You do all the regular stuff, and the next thing you know, the doctor takes your blood pressure and he tells you that you may actually have high blood pressure. What do you do next, right? Now, this is what happened to me about 2.5 years ago. This is a life-changing event, right? And it's sad in the fact that, for most of my life, I battled a lot of weight issues throughout my life. I was bullied for being a heavy kid and bullied for, just being overweight. And it was hard to deal with, right? And at a young age, I didn't know what to do. I enjoyed eating, to say nonetheless. And as an adult, I kept my weight in check on and off, but sometimes I let it go. And then for the longest time, I lost myself, right? And losing myself, I essentially I didn't care about my weight anymore. And I let that essentially ride for like 5 years. 5 years. And it paid a toll on me. To the point to where my doctor was telling me that I essentially had to was going to be put on blood pressure medication, that I had high blood pressure. And it was scary because my mom just had a heart transplant and everything. And I was getting ready to have a heart transplant, but she had a defibrillator put in years before. And so heart issues were a thing in our family. So my thing was, well, I'm only, 35 years old and I'm already having heart issues. So nonetheless, as you can imagine, it was one of those life-changing events. And I've talked about this before. I essentially went and had a salad, and that was about the extent of where I went, right? Because of the situation that I was in and what was going on. A lot of times I didn't put enough effort in. And, maybe I was in a state of depression as well a little bit. But nonetheless, I can admit that I was an outer shell of myself at the time. And so nonetheless, after a couple months passed, I started to, do some research to get myself back in check. I started eating, chicken. I started eating healthier and what I thought was healthy, right? And I did lose a lot of weight, which I know helped a lot. But I know my cholesterol was still high. So the biggest thing I did was I decided, after probably like a month and a half, 2 months of research, solid research, I started really looking into the vegan diet, or the plant-based diet. Now, the difference being in which, being vegan is more of an ethical, moral type of reasoning behind your diet. And plant-based is more for the health aspect of it, right? To essentially stop having to take all these medications that you don't really need. In fact, to, make your health better. And there were some incredible stories with a lot of people that are on multiple medications that went plant-based, and they, came off of all these medications and everything like that. And I was like, well, I have to really be careful with my heart. And so nonetheless, I did my research, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I grew up in that family that was essentially a hunting family, where we hunted and ate like all different kinds of things. And it was one of the hardest things I think I had to do. And I've talked about this before, about making that transition into a plant-based diet. I initially went vegan because you could have processed stuff on a vegan diet, and on a plant-based diet, you stray away from anything that is not coming essentially from the ground. And so, I did this research, and I slowly started transitioning. And, the more foods I was incorporating in my diet, because again, I kind of went vegan initially, but it's more the diet aspect, right? And then I got into some of the ethical stuff a little bit more. I believe in some of that stuff now, as opposed to more now than what I did then. But nonetheless, it was more for a health move, right? And so this plant-based diet, really, so the more I started taking out the dairy, the more I started taking out the meat, I started realizing how much more, everything else was getting better, right? My health was getting so much better, my energy levels, my mental clarity was getting better. Everything was just getting better by like multitudes, right? It wasn't just like little changes, it was huge changes that were eye-opening, right? And coming from someone who used to work out all the time and take about every supplement under the sun, like this diet in itself was just making unbelievable changes without having to take supplements. And it was astonishing. And I was running again, I was doing all these different things, yet I'm coming off of 5 years where I really neglected my health, right? I didn't work out at all, I didn't do anything, I didn't eat right, I ate processed junk all the time. I was having pizza probably maybe at least once a week, and it was just extremely bad. And so I made that decision to go healthy, especially because I have kids, and that was my biggest concern, is I didn't want my kids to go fatherless, right? And so that was a big concern, especially after my father just passing. And so that was one of the biggest life-changing events that I've had, was going plant-based. And it's one of the best changes I have ever made, and I will never go back, because I feel extraordinary, to be honest. I feel a lot better than I've ever felt in my life. And it is one of those things, those hurdles that I had to get over, right? I had to get over that whole hurdle of thinking that, life was that people were gonna judge me for what I eat. And I do see people they judge pretty quick about what you put in your body. But they don't understand the science, and I did a lot of research to understand why it was working so well, right? Because it wasn't initially what I wanted to do, but I went through with it, and I kind of gave it a test phase, and needless to say, here it is over 2 years now, to be almost 2 years here in a couple more months. Has it been 2 years? Man, I don't even know how long it's been. I think it's been over 2 years already. Yeah, it's been about a year and a half, right? So give it about a year and a half. I've been vegan or plant-based. I would say more vegan, because I do eat some processed stuff every now and again, but for the majority of my meals are very much plant-based. And I noticed how my mood, my demeanor, and everything changes when I stay closer to that plant-based diet. And so this is one of those events. I think a lot of people, a lot of people are quick to judge. I was quick to judge about a plant-based diet and everything, and a lot of people go about it the wrong way. Like, it took me a month and a half to really transition, right? Now it takes some people longer. I was more determined because I felt like I had a shorter window to try to get it in. And I didn't crave any meat, didn't crave any dairy, didn't crave any of that stuff. It was hard to get the dairy out of my diet because there's so much dairy in essentially everything that you eat. And that's what's hard to get rid of. But nonetheless, I'm enjoying life, and I feel young again, which, I was in a lot of pain. I was having a lot of issues before. Like, my health was really bad. It was like rock bottom. And this diet really churned it and let me see that I could still be young, right? I don't think I'm young. I'm like getting ready to turn 38, but nonetheless, I feel young. I feel like I'm in my 20s again. And I'm running, I'm lifting, and a lot stronger than a lot of other people are in the gym. And I just base it off of my diet, right? And so that's just something I wanted to share. It's one of those life-changing moments that has really, really opened my eyes to a lot of different perspectives, and to keep your mind open, and to get, just don't say no. That's the biggest thing, is don't say no. Try to experiment with stuff and realize that maybe there is a reason, right? And if you're doing it, it doesn't seem like it's working, you might be doing it wrong. And I see a lot of people, on social media and stuff, they try a vegan diet and they're like, oh, it's horrible, I don't know how anybody can do this. And a lot of times they're doing it wrong. Like, they document what they're doing, and they're doing it completely wrong, right? They think because of the portion sizes we have for salads and stuff like that, it's not like that. Like, you have to eat more, obviously, because you're taking in less calories. You can eat a whole head of lettuce and be perfectly fine, right? And I think that's what people don't understand is, with all the processed junk, like, there's there's a caloric surplus in these things when you can eat a whole head of lettuce plus all these other veggies. You can eat essentially almost a whole food section, right? And still be under calories, right? I don't know, that's just, that's, I blew that a little bit out of proportion, but nonetheless, I mean, you could eat a ton more and still be able to eat, right? Especially if someone that's suffering from, battling with food and stuff like that. Going plant-based is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. So I hope this helps you guys. If it has, remember to hit that like button. Until next time, I will see you guys later.